guys, how are we all doing? God, it feels like such a long time ago since I recorded one of these, but with this pandemic that's going on, I guess I've reprioritized and this has gone down the list a little bit. But today, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Amy Breen. Now, I have coached Amy in the past, and in the last few years, she has made her own pivot into coaching herself. And she is super, mega awesome. And I can't wait for you all to hear all about her and her story and what she's doing in the world. So, today, Amy talked about her experience in the last few years that led to all these exciting things that she's doing. She has really found a productive spark during these last few months and has written 6 books for herself. And you can get all of those on Amazon, and there's more information about her on our website, which I will link in the description below. So here is my discussion with Amy Breen. I hope you enjoy it. Amy Breen, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, Rob. How's it going?
I'm fantastic. It's so good that you have agreed to come onto this. I'm really excited to talk to you because you are someone that has lots of interesting stuff going on. But before we get all to that super exciting stuff that you've been doing and releasing books and stuff like that, I would love for people to get to know you
Okay,
and
are you
who
sure?
you are. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So who is Amy Breen?
Okay. Who is Amy Breen? Okay. Well, I'm a career coach based in Dublin. I have a recruitment background, I have a design background, and I suppose at the moment I'm coaching people on their career, and I'm also a mindset coach. Um, so I suppose I've a lot of different strings to my bow in a lot of ways. I went back and did design. I did industrial design in college. I had been working for myself, basically painting and having exhibitions and things like that. I had a studio out in Selbridge, and I used to supply my work to some gift shops around Dublin. And then I suppose the recession hit, and then nobody was buying anything anymore. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to college, and at least I'll have a degree under my belt and things like that. So I went back, and then I finished my my degree there. And then when I came out, everyone was doing, I suppose, app design and coding and that kind of thing. And as far as I was concerned, we were sketching computer mouses or mice
Mm.
down in Carlow, for a few years. But um, I did my final year. I completed my final year in Valencia on Erasmus. So it was a pilot program because I'd never actually been to Spain before. I don't know if anyone's been since because I was hit by a car when I was over there. So yeah, that was a bit of an awakening, I suppose. So I completed some of my final exams kind of from bed. Now, it could have been a lot worse, I suppose, at the time, but if we're talking about, a lot of people say air bunnies, about the journey. That definitely would have been a turning point, I think, for me. Not even so much as a wake up call. I don't really know how I would phrase it, but it really showed me how I can rely on myself. That I was struggling with a lot when I was over there, as in, the language barrier and completing design projects and technical drawings, all through a different language. And I kind of had, very very simple language, like I can go out and I can order and I can hold a conversation socially, but when it came down to actually writing academically, it was a bit tough. I completed it and I passed everything and it was fine. I'd nerve damage in my left arm and my right leg, so I was a little bit wobbly for a while, but I think it was more the emotional side of it as well afterwards, where I didn't really know what end to me was up, and then I did a relationship breakup the year after, and then it was okay, all these changes all the time, and what the hell am I going to do with this? And I decided then that I wanted to really focus on my career and see what I wanted. And I was doing design work for a well-known hotel group in town, so designing menus and marketing material and things like that. And it just ended up being a kind of crazy job. I was there for a year, and I had been proofreading drawings for a friend of mine, an architect, and I thought, okay, I can do that part-time, and maybe I'll apply for a part-time job, like in a shop or something, just so that I can keep doing the design work. And like design had kind of just become a hobby then. So what was that? Yeah, so I applied for a role in a recruitment or in a shop, and then the recruitment company that was recruiting for that shop was also recruiting for them, and they said, I think you're kind of, you have too many skills to go and work in a shop. And I said, yeah, but I kind of want part time and this kind of thing. So they said, would you consider working for us? And I have always kind of had a can do kind of attitude, as in, not sure, I'll give anything a go. I was always like that. Never really found a distinct path. I've kind of done everything, and that's just what I am, you know, typical Sagittarius. Um, but so I started working there, and I kind of ended up having a knack for it. And it grew to be a very key role there. I did all the marketing, the website, and there was a lot of really tough parts to the job as well. And I was putting in very, very long weeks, and it was just kind of tough. But overall, there was a lot of learning from it, let's say. And I finished up with them last year, and I started a new role. I was working coaching in a record label, and then I was basically coaching artists and musicians and things like that, who, like, the majority of them never really showed up for sessions, and then you wouldn't really be paid, and it was just a bit all over the place. Wasn't really what I was looking for. Then I started another role this year, which was focusing on learning and development, but also in recruitment. So it was dealing with HR people and working with HR people, and it was to grow to a much bigger role. But then because of COVID, then everyone was pretty much laid off, and I was kind of left, I suppose, just wondering, okay, what's my next thing? Like, what am I gonna do next? And then I was going out with somebody, and he broke up with me at the start of COVID, pretty much. And so it was kind of, and then my friend who I'd been living with moved out, and I was kind of just left. It was like three big changes just all at once. And I understand that the succession of them wasn't ideal, but I was kind of left thinking, Rob, like, I could very easily just go down a rabbit hole here and completely avoid everything and not do any healing or anything, and just, I don't know, drink all day or mope around or moan, or not just moan, but like process it in a unfruitful way. And then I thought, okay, I need a project. And I didn't feel like painting. I didn't feel like doing anything like that, but I thought I definitely want to be creative. So I have piles and piles and piles of notebooks that I've been writing in for years. I journal, but I write stories, I write what I see, I write what I know, and things like that. And I just said, right, there's a pile of notebooks there. I'm going to type all of them up. I don't care where it goes. It's not like I want to be a best-selling author, nothing like that. I wasn't thinking of the end result. I was just doing it to write, to actually just, so that it would be a bit cathartic for me. So I started typing up all of the books, and then I threw all of the notepads out. So there was about 15 of them, because everything was on the laptop and then in the hard drive. And I said, okay, what am I going to do here? And actually, when I was looking at each of the stories, I thought, I know how to finish that, or I've a little bit more experience or wisdom since that happened. I'm going to add this in, or I'm going to add this character. So I put together a book of poems and short stories, and I said, I'm going to publish this. I'm going to publish this myself and just put it out there. And it's, to be honest, it was only my starting point. I just needed to get out the gate, because it was even to the point where I thought, I don't really care how it's received. That's not the point of it. And it wasn't the point of being egotistical either. It was just that I needed that out there. I needed that off my desk so I could move on to the next thing. And that one is selling really well. It's a dark poet society, so I did a play on Dead Poet Society. I wanted something quite catchy, but then also a little bit dark, because there is some kind of eerie stories. There's very light
I
stories.
have read it. It is
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that, you know, awful, god awful things have happened to me, but actually it's just, you know, there's a lot of thoughts and stuff
Yeah.
that go into it.
The
It's
Shadow.
just, yeah, exactly. So like, I really enjoy doing that. And then because I run the Dublin coaching program as well, I thought I want to put content out there. And someone once told me before, you know, write about what you know, because once you write about what you know, or if you're writing a story and it's hypothetical. So there was one particular character that I really felt an affiliation with, and he was Malcolm Ford, right? So this was in Dark Poet Society. And then when I was writing that, he's basically this social worker, but he's also a serial killer. And then I just kind of was going through it, and I thought, I have no experience of this. I need to remove myself from this equation. This is not fun for me. So then some stories that I'm writing at the moment is I'm actually writing about my own experiences, but they're put into, the guise of another character, because it wasn't about writing the next big novel or the bestseller or anything like that. That wasn't what it was about. I thought, okay, what do I do every day that is helpful to me that I didn't do before? So I think the major thing for me was forgiveness. I forgave myself for any part that I had to play or any things that had happened to me in the past. I forgave myself. I forgave others, because if people make decisions, they make decisions based on the resources that they have at that time, or their judgment at that time, and their call on something, and you don't know what's going on with other people. And then the same with me, that, there's a lot of I am quite an animated and excited person, but then I also can get down as well, just like anyone. I can also get anxious. And then I thought, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just normal. Whereas years ago, I didn't really know how to deal with that. So I would get kind of melancholy, or I'd just go out and go wild and go drinking and forget, not take any responsibility really for it. So I suppose the thing for me now is the forgiveness. And once I focused on forgiveness, and once I started channeling this forgiveness, something happened with my ego. And then I suppose my ego kind of left me, and then my true self just kind of started to appear to me. And I kind of was looking at myself in the mirror, and I looked, and I for the first time in so long, I think maybe in all of my 35 years, actually liked what I saw. And I liked what was looking back at me. And I knew that given this flexibility with myself, and, that kindness and that compassion and that peace and that time to let everything just settle down, and past hurts and all that, we all own our own stories. And owning the story for me, and I know that you're a responsibility advocate as well, and I love your content because it is so great. It's like, I'm responsible for my own days. That people in the past, like even yesterday, it's gone, it's over, it's finished. Today's a brand new day, and all that actually matters is being in the moment. So that brought me to, okay, ownership, right? Kindness, that. And I thought, okay, what could really be catchy? Because I love the work of Mark Manson, and, the subtle art of not giving a fuck and all that kind of thing. But I thought, okay, what am I doing at the moment? I was like, I'm owning my shit. I was like, I own my shit, and this is all my shit, and everyone has shit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you're censoring on this, but I'm going to say shit.
No!
It's the title of the book. So I thought, okay, own your shit. So what am I going to do? I don't want to do this self-obsessed kind of my journey type of story. I thought I want something that is really going to help people. So I went over to Thailand last year, and I went on a retreat, and it was very, very deep. There was a lot of deep work done, and I suppose the forgiveness as well, it kind of happened there. I kind of missed kind of skated by that part. But we used to do these deep breathing meditations and all of these things that, you would completely just leave your body, and you would just see things almost from a bird's eye view of kind of what's going on. And they would focus on your energy centers. And I touch on that in the book, is that a lot of people might call it chakras and things like that. But if you're not into that, I don't want to eliminate a certain part of an audience. But our energy is down from the base, our feet and all the way up to our head. So I thought, okay, if I can start an affirmations book that focuses on the stability first, so it's your root, let's say, and then it's your courage, which is your gut, and that's all your stomach, and even your reproductive system, your digestive system, all of these things, that the book is designed that if you do them in order, you actually feel a lot better. There is a release, because you're tuning into certain areas of your body, and you're saying, look, I know you're there, and it's okay. And I've had readers send me, I've some Instagram fans, and that's the great thing about being an indie author, is that it opens yourself up, first of all, to more royalties, because you can choose your royalty agreement and you can choose your distribution methods. But then also, it opens you up to readers that you might normally reach with, say, targeted marketing and things like that. The people that seek out this sort of stuff. And one of the particular reviews was brilliant, and it just said, I wish I could give it more than 5 stars. And the reason is that I didn't cringe when I read any of them. I started to really believe the statements. They weren't cringy. They weren't that kind of, I am the
Yeah,
sunrise and I am the
yeah.
light. I
That's a
hate that
that's a
shit.
massive problem that I find in my coaching with people. It's like they don't believe what they're saying and affirming things that they're not comfortable with, and that's the most important thing. You have to believe what you're saying to yourself to incorporate it
Exactly.
into your new way of thinking.
Exactly, it's so true, because it can be very, so say if you're just opening one page, okay, so for forgiveness, which is actually kind of wild, I didn't have this ready there for any of the listeners. I just said, I forgive myself and those around me for mistakes. Realism, no bullshit, right there to the point. I let go of anger, resentment, and regrets of the past.
Mm.
Simple things like that. So if you are in a funny place, or you're unsure, or you're not feeling strong, or you're not feeling confident, you can open any page in that book, guaranteed, and affirm what you're saying. There's instructions at the start that says, try these in the mirror. Try to learn even 2 pages off and say them in the shower. And I actually find that now when I wake up, my entire diet has changed. And I don't just mean, I think you and I discussed this before, I don't mean nutrition. I mean your actual human diet. And this is something that I want to really look into. It's your consumption of social media. It's the thoughts that you allow in. It's the hijacking of your mind. It's all of these things that we allow that we don't need to permit. And this is what I enjoy about this book, is that even when I was writing it, I was like, does that work? So I try each one every day. So it's kind of tried and tested, albeit with me, but still. Like I'd wake up and I'd say, I'm courageous and strong. And then I'd be like, courageous and strong, courageous and strong, courageous and strong. Like, and just keep saying it over and over and over and over
Hmm.
again. So then if something happens, or I get a phone call, or something is going to say, hijack me, I say, am I going to act with courage, or am I going to go under my duvet and go, oh, not today? And the not today, Amy, was a lot more apparent for me a good few years ago, where I wanted all of this stuff, but I didn't want to take any action to get it, because I actually preferred kind of being miserable and blaming somebody else.
And
And I,
that's fascinating. That is fascinating because the first time that I met you, I was like, I couldn't believe what was coming out of your mouth because all of the things that you were saying that you were doing and that you were capable of and that you'd been through, I was like, wow. Because I knew, like, in front of me was what I perceived as a powerhouse and someone who was incredibly capable. But there was that sense, and you experienced this. I'd love you to
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that, about what it was, maybe whatever happened in Valencia or whatever that was sort of keeping you from not realizing your potential.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, we're working together maybe, what, 5 years now. Well, actually, we're more peer coaches, I suppose, at the moment. Now we've kind of grown to that. But
Mm.
when I came to you first, it was shortly after Valencia, and it was literally because I had said to my friend Linda, I don't know what to do, because doctors just want to medicate me. They wanted to put me on PTSD medication. They didn't want to tune into anything. My sister was great. She said, go and get acupuncture. There's a great acupuncturist, like, she'll change your life and this kind of thing. And everyone, wanted to help. And it's great, but it's up to you whether you want to listen. I found, and I love therapy as an intervention for people. It can really help, but I felt that at that particular time, and probably because of that particular therapist, let's say, because not everyone is the same. I know some really great therapists, really, really talented individuals, but this particular um, therapist kind of kept me there. It kept me in Spain, even though I was back in Ireland. It kept me there. It kept me rehashing all of this stuff, and I'd be dreadfully upset. And then I'd go home and I would be really upset, and I couldn't get over it for days. It was like this horrible emotional hangover. And I just thought, I I'm done with this. I can't be doing this. So I thought, right, I'll go hell for leather into the acupuncture and let's see if I feel better. And actually, it wasn't even, I don't even think it was the needles. It was the lady that was doing it. She was just, her heart was just like a giant. When I picture her now, she actually passed away a couple of years ago, which was really upsetting. But I picture her holding a huge heart the size of a pillow. Like, her heart was so big, and she was very special, and she helped my sister a lot, and she helped me a lot, and she helped some people I know. But she was really special, and I thought, okay, if I have a mix of this, so this alternative, this Eastern medicine, if I have a mixture of this, I found the acupuncture great, because actually the doctor that I had been seeing had said, you're never going to actually have feeling from your knee down to your foot again, so you'll just have to get used to it. With acupuncture for 6 months with Anna, it was back. So it was like, I used to say to people when I was out, like, kick me in my right leg, kick me right in my shin, like as like a party trick. And then now I'd be like, don't kick me anymore, I'm grand. So she was awesome. She was so good. And where was I going with this? Yeah. So then when Linda suggested seeing you, I remember seeing you that day. Like, I was just a ball of kind of help me. Like, I want to start living my life. Like, what am I going to do? I'm so all over the place. I'm so anxious. I've always been so anxious. I think as a child I've been anxious, and a lot of us have this, and we talk about mental health and all that, but not enough people speak out about the fact that it becomes chronic. And for me at that time, it was chronic, to the point where sometimes I'd have conversations with my family or friends, and I can't recall something that actually happened. And I don't think that this was a memory thing, because I had brain scans and everything. It was fine, because I had been actually knocked out, so they thought maybe there was something with the brain, but it wasn't. Like, there wasn't anything. I put it down, chalk it down to extreme anxiety. Now I find, because I'm so bloody present, that my memories annoy me, because it's so precise. They're like, oh, that person said this, and no, that was 2:15, not 2:25. And I'm going, here, I mean, this is not you. So I'm using this, I suppose, now to, no, going back to, I digress. So going back to when I started having sessions with you, it was kind of, we worked through some tools, and we did this, that, and the other. But I actually, because it was focusing on consistent action, consistent steps, consistent awareness, consistent accountability, consistent ownership, all that kind of thing, that it was, well, I can't do that because Rob said not to do that anymore if I want to be moving forward. And it was all of that kind of thing. And having that, like having a coach in your corner, is amazing. And I really find that now that the clients I'm working with, they make my days just so much better, because I just feed off that. And I find, like, even now, I know we're doing the podcast, but if you and I were in the same room, the roof would be bursting off with the energy. And that's what it is that we can all do this. And that's why it's so exciting, and more people should do it. And I thought, look, even if you're newly qualified, even if you're just an aspiring coach, just try it out. Try it out with friends, because you're helping more people in a year than many do in their whole lifetime. And I know, and therapists are the same, and I do understand that there are different interventions and there are different things that are designed to help us, but don't be stuck. It's like you can unstick yourself, I suppose, and that's what I've done now. And it isn't, and this is the whole thing, that I used to apologize almost for my existence. Like, I would say, oh, I painted a picture, but you probably won't like it. I only used cheap paint from Tiger. Oh, it's crap. Oh, this was only €2 and pennies. This, always excusing myself. Whereas now people say, you wrote a book. I go, yeah, it's going really well. You want a copy?
Yes.
Because I'm not going to apologize for what I'm spending my time doing. And I'm working with a lot of clients that leave testimonials or recommendations and all that kind of thing. And I used to get them, and I know this is probably so bad, I used to say, oh, they're probably looking for a free session, or they're probably this. I've dropped all that. That's an attitude. That's my own bias. And it's not a subconscious bias. It's a conscious bias. It's deliberate. But now when I look at it, I go, that me and that client had a really, really good time together. And I'm so glad that she has actually, or he has, put that online, and they've put it out to the world, because that's my shop front, and that's the experience that people will have with me. And when they're on a program, it is quite different, because I am a realist. And I suppose something with, this is such a long-winded answer. So I suppose what I've done is, what I really wanted to do this time, and definitely during this great reset or COVID, was I wanted to, I suppose, shape my own paranoia into something beautiful. And if I could actually put all of that this stuff that I've been rattling around in my head for years and years and years, that I want to start being vocal about it. But I'm starting with writing what I know. I know the affirmations will work, and they're not bullshit. And then also, with the coaching book now, is that I kind of think that everyone should see a coach at one stage in their life, or try and be one, or practice one, or even read up on it, because it is, or even self-coach. So like the book could be used as a self-coaching tool. I thought maybe, will I do that first? And I thought no, because I'm involved in a lot of coaching communities and it could really be helpful. And if it was a price point or anything like that, I have, some kind of downloadable documents that could be, that I have there as the tools. And I did all of those myself, because like in college and when you study, they give you, I did the diploma in executive coaching and life coaching, and they give you some tools, and that's fine. But then I noticed that some of them are obsolete because we're always evolving. Our problems are different. Our problems are more, our problems are, sometimes I see it like it's like a layer cake nowadays, because we have everything. Like if I'm talking to you here now and I can see you and I say, I want those headphones, I can come off this podcast, get those exact headphones, or buy your guitar or the red strap on the guitar. I can go and I can do that. It's accessible. So we have this accessibility to everything that we want. So we're living a life of abundance. So why do most of us feel like shit? And this is why it's looking at, okay, what is actually making you feel like shit? Are you working in a job that you hate? I've been there, but I was there because I loved the people. Didn't necessarily love the work. But then what happens is you can become a doormat, you can become subservient, and you let certain things in, you tolerate things. If you keep tolerating something, you just increase the chances of it happening again and again. And whereas now, if I'm uncomfortable with something, first of all, I ask, where's the discomfort coming from? Because it mightn't necessarily be the environment's problem. It could be something that happened to me when I was 17. It mightn't actually be anything they're doing wrong. So it's really taking this, having a really long, hard look at things and saying, okay, am I spending a lot of my time focusing on material goods? Is that avoiding something that I should be working on, something that I should be healing? And they're calling the 2020, 2020 vision, it's like an awakening, because people are seeing that you don't actually need to hide out in loads of restaurants and have a life that is, 60% leisure and pleasure, let's say, for a phrase that rhymes. Yeah, I might use that. I'm going to take that down. For if you spend all your time in that segment, let's say, but what's happening with all the real stuff? All the real stuff that makes you happy. And what I've noticed since lockdown is I'm having a lot more meaningful conversations with loads of people, that I've started to actually call out what I like about someone's company when I'm with them, when I haven't done that before. Like I'd say, I love how you tell stories, or I love how you make me laugh, or they are things that, this is why we're all here, to learn from people, to love people, to be kind, to understand, to take your time. And it's being compassionate with that even if somebody is acting out, like the other day, this guy started randomly kind of shouting at me on the road. I was walking by, so the way Dublin City, you think, okay, is he going to throw a can at me or something, but I just slowly just kind of smiled at him, not in a menacing way. And then you say, oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else. But I have this thing inside me, I think he's not going to hurt me. I'm not going to get hurt, because I think I was given a second chance a few years ago. And I want to make that count. But I want to make that count by helping others. And people say, oh, what do you want to do with your life? I want to help people, and which is fine. That's grand. But I want to help people really own their story as well. So to own it, like you're a great advocate for that. The story that you told about, and the picture of your broken watch and that kind of thing, that it did actually change your life. You have the ability to change it, and to stand up and, I suppose, change the script. So like, I think as well, when you start trying something new, obviously there is resistance. So that is always a healthy indicator that things are shifting, things are afoot, things are changing. But I think always in the back of my mind was that if I'm vulnerable like that, and you hear Brené Brown saying, oh, well, vulnerability takes courage, but sometimes it's really, really, really fucking uncomfortable, and you don't want to do it. You don't want to stand up and say, well, I want to write about my childhood or these icky subjects or something that people don't want to, maybe hear or face. And you always have this kind of vision. I don't know whether I'm the only one. There's this bony finger is going to come out of a cloud to say, you were told you're not meant to tell, you're not meant to do this, you're an imposter, all this. So it's all these kind of thoughts you have in your mind that someone say, like, who are you to be writing books? Who are you to be coaching other people and telling them how to live their lives? I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. I'm just saying that I would like to be your companion if you will trust me with your story, and we'll try and maybe make it better if you want to make it better. So it's all about permission, and it's a dance, and it's a dialogue. It's not an advice, because it's not consulting. And I have done career consulting, but it's more about like career consulting. You probably know as well. It's basically looking at someone's CV and telling them it's crap. And well, no, not really that. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Geez, I don't want to be offended anyone, but it's always with the end in mind. But whereas coaching is an exchange, and it is actually a process, that I found that going session to session does not do anything. Meeting someone for an hour does not do anything. And that's why the programs have taken off. So people work with me for 3 to 6, 9, 12 months, and they get, endless resources, endless exercises, sessions, accountability sessions, voice memos, all the things that it actually takes, because it is a process. Like, if you were to stop, I think we were trying to figure that out a while ago. When was the first time I met you? Like, it's a massive process. You can say, like, if you were talking to a client and you said, okay, you have to work with me for 5 years, they'd say, sorry, now I'm going to need to get a loan, or unless you're going to do it for free, I don't have the time. But actually it's a long process, and it should. What everyone's talking about, the curve for COVID, is that I see coaching like that. It's like a lower level, almost like a lower level frequency. Yeah, and that commitment and that joining, it brings you up. I'm doing a gesture with my hand, but sure, no one can see me. But it's going up, and it should be going up. And that's the thing, is that we're able to do these things. You just have to trust yourself and forget about the naysayers, I suppose. And I think that's what I did. I stopped my own propaganda. I thought, stop this, because I mean, even last summer, I remember thinking, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do drop shipping. I'm going to make so much money, and then I don't need any inventory or anything. I'm just going to put all these products online and then set up a shop and this kind of thing. And it was because I kind of bought into, YouTube and get rich quick schemes and stuff. And there probably is people on Shopify doing it very successfully. But all I wanted to do was have a pretty website and put products up there. I didn't want to learn anything really about the shipping rates. I knew a bit here and there. But after I did it for a few days, I thought, and I ordered some of the products that they'd been advertising, and they were rubbish. And I thought, oh, take that site down. It's ridiculous. So, like I said earlier, I will try anything. But for the first time in my life, I really feel that I'm en route to being completely self-sufficient. I'm trusting myself. I know that patience is needed now. So I'm trying to practice a lot of patience, because I wrote a journal for preteens and teenagers called the Self-Care Squad, and that's getting published. So it'll be in the high street in January 2021. Because of COVID, there was a delay. But that's a 160-page glossy. It's fully designed. So I thought, okay, I've actually mixed my love of coaching and working with people, my love of design and colour, and a bit of OCD about that as well. But wanted to start focusing on the things that come naturally to me, and see if I can build and scale this to a point where I'm completely self-sufficient. And I'm definitely en route now. But if COVID hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and that's what I want to now talk about, because you have used this time to not write just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 6 books.
When you say it, I'm like, oh,
powerhouse.
Get me sections.
No, I mean, like, this is what I talk about with people. I want people to use this time to have a project, to do something productive that they can come out of this going, do you know what? I'm proud of myself. I use this time as a reflex point to say, I wanted to do this for a long time. Here's an opportunity. Do I do it? And you
Mm.
have, by Jesus, have you done it? 6 books. Incredible. Tell us about them.
Well, you see, the interesting thing about that is that I didn't set out to do that at all. I did not set out with the end in mind. And many people say that they start with the end in mind. I actually didn't. But what I did was I read a lot of Anne Lamott. She's a really, really amazing writer. She wrote Bird by Bird, which is an instruction manual for writing. But there's so many writing books out there, how creative writing courses and things like that. But all she says is it's bird by bird. Write about something every day. Even if you sit down at your desk, so I like 9 o'clock every morning, sit at my desk, which is, I'll tell you about that in a minute. It's kind of funny. And I've my mother to thank as well. But sit down every day and just write, it is Tuesday, let's say. And then I find when I write that, I call it morning pages. So it's like, it is Tuesday. There's lavender on the windowsill. I see a cherry blossom tree outside. The man has still not finished his extension next door. Will it ever happen? I remember when an extension was being built next door, my dad got stung by a bee, blah, blah, and you go. That's it. And you're off. So all it is that actually that action. So it's the principle of it's kind of like you don't have a choice. So I tell myself, Amy, you don't actually have a choice. Like you have to write today. You can't like not write today because the days that I don't, the guilt the next day makes me avoid, makes me go, I want, to eat a whole box of chocolates now and just forget about it. And who am I? And the books aren't selling. And then I go down that rabbit hole and I go, oh, that doesn't matter. You just write about stuff. So I started writing about something the other day. Almonds. I'm always eating almonds. And then I started writing about almonds. And then found myself going researching almonds for a while. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, it's great to have this time, but I'm also coaching people every day. So it's managing this time that even if I just have that segment, if I go
Mm.
out for a coffee or something in the morning, I take that notebook. And if I even say, I'm just going to do one page and that's it, I don't even care what I'm going to write about. I'll still be there an hour and a half later, fleshing out something or working out something. And it's about taking action. And there's something that Anne Lamott said. So she quotes when she starts these writing classes with people. She said sometimes they look at her like she's someone from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. They look at her like she's mad because everyone wants to race to getting published or getting an agent or this kind of thing. And the self-care squad is getting published, but that was the 82nd email that I'd sent. So it's this conscious, consistent effort and actually breaking everything down to the demographics. Who will buy this book? What does it help? What does it solve? I never looked at any of that stuff before. I was just like, please read this. Tell me it's good. I need an agent. Like, I don't, if you read it and you say not for us, I'd say thanks a million. That's fine. But she talks about the wild rose, and this was something that really stood out to me about I suppose your creativity staring you in the face, no matter how much you might try and ignore it. And it's not even creativity; it's talent. Everyone has a talent. So Wendell Berry wrote The Wild Rose for his wife. He says, "Sometimes hidden from me in daily custom and in trust, so that I live by you unaware, as by the beating of my heart. Suddenly you flare in my sight, a wild rose blooming at the edge of thickest grace and light, where yesterday was only shade. And once again I am blessed, choosing again what I chose before." And the reason I love that is I know it's written for his wife and I know it's a wild rose, but this is how your talents can sometimes reveal themselves. They are in the shade because we can keep them in the shade. So let's take them out of the shade and come into the light, no matter how grisly and scary they are. Just say, I've been given this gift. And it's like Ken Robinson talks about, the environment that you're in for your talent to come out. And I think that's really interesting. He says, I'm standing here, as he's doing TEDx talk, and he said, I'm standing here, and he goes, and there could be 80 amazingly avid sailors here, but you've never been on a boat, you're not going to know that you're an amazing sailor. Yep. He said, if you have this inclination that you might want to do something, or you say, I really want to do Everest, or I really want to do this, do you really? Or do you think it's just what you should be doing? And I think what's unlocked for me was that the freedom of having to it wasn't even a choice. It was that I need a project, but I don't really mind what it is, but I want to get something from it. And all it was typing. And now when I write, I've better sessions. When I've better sessions, I do better writing. When I've more experiences, when I'm meeting more people, it all links in together. So it's kind of, and then when I'm drawing, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to show this to my parents, or I'm going to do this. And the interesting thing is that everyone says, oh, you start small, and I have a plan for this. I definitely wanted to keep going further and to do talks and things, but my mom got me a stool at Christmas. It was just this little puffy stool. It's about really, really, really small. It's just like for the ground. It's kind of a footrest thing. And I sat on that on a tiny table with my tiny laptop like a smurf, starting to write these notebooks. And it was just because that was my place. Didn't have a desk, and I didn't want to be at the kitchen table. I didn't want to be in bed. I wanted just a place that was just for writing. And then I found that it didn't really matter because the words kind of just started flowing once you start doing it. So, yeah.
You've written the affirmations book. You've
Yeah.
also written the Dark Poets Society.
Yep.
What are the other books? I really want you to talk about the Smoobs, because this is genius to me. Really genius. I love this idea.
So, okay, so there's the Own Your Shit with Awesome Affirmations, Coaching Through COVID, which is the Ultimate Coach's Companion, which is the full toolkit for aspiring coaches. Dark Poet Society collection of poems and short stories. One of which is won a April poetry competition online, so won $100.
Yoo-hoo!
Yay! Which is like €82, but still, it's amazing. But this thing is like putting it out there without saying like, this poem, you must read this poem, it's amazing. It's just like, here's my entry, and then see what happens. And then doing that 10 times over, 15 times over. The next one then is Mayo and the Pigeon.
Oh
So
yeah, tell us
this
about
story,
Mayo and the Pigeon. Come on, this is amazing. I loved it. Your
oh, you're building
imagination
it up.
is so good.
You're
I
building
love
it up.
it. Just give
So
us a little snippet of what that
okay,
is about.
okay. So I would usually kind of walk through Stephen's Green, and I love having coffee there and looking at the flowers and being in nature and stuff when you're in the city is so important for your mind and your body and everything. And then there was one day I was looking at the seagull, and if anyone's been in town lately, the seagulls are out of control and they're so hated, and they're bastards. Like they'd be eating a Big Mac in the middle of Grafton Street, and they're the size of a dog, and they'd go for you, and they've taken phones out of people's hands thinking that they're ham. That happened to a lady with a pink phone in the zoo. A seagull swooped down because he thought it was a piece of billy roll or something. Like they're violent. But then I was looking, I had my notebook, and I thought, I just wrote, is it the seagull's fault? And then I started writing down, and I was like, well, they don't cast as much fish back into the ocean. So seagulls have had to move inland. It's a man-made problem and this kind of thing. And then there was all these petitions for cull the gull and this and get them out of the city. But, where else are they going to go? So then I thought, okay, well, if let's say, if you're thinking about something that it could contrast kind of society. So there's always been this thing about north side and south side Dublin, So I thought, okay, why don't we make the seagull, say, the north sider, and the creatures in Stephen's Green Park, the southsiders. And so I called the seagull Mayo. And Mayo has 3 siblings, Dano, Ado, and Tammy. And their uncle Paco has been living in town for years, and lives up above George Street Arcade, and he knows the streets and he knows all this. He's showing them around, and they decide that they want to live there because there's nothing else for them to eat and host. But when they arrive, they're greeted by a pigeon. They're setting up their nest, and they're greeted by a pigeon that tells them the rules of the park. Basically, you're not allowed to eat from the bin, which the seagulls know as Brewsker Towers, because they've just shown the Brewsker Towers here, and they've all the treats in the world that you want, and you can get ice cream, you can get
So
cake, you can
good.
get all of this. So there's massive rules to the park. They're not allowed swoop at children. They're not allowed to eat the bird's bread. And there's a good few rules. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but the kind of turning point is that as Maya was flying around the perimeter of the park, he notices something shimmering in a pond. And then he feels this desperate need to swoop down and take it, because he knows that he's not stealing food from the ducks, because they're given bread by the visitors of the park and this kind of thing. So he feels this innate need to get the fish, and he feels that this is actually good for me. Fish is good for me. I shouldn't be eating this kind of thing. So he tries to educate the others then, and based on what they should be eating. So there's a lot of messages about, if a child is starting in a new school or a new group or anything like that, there is going to be rules and regulations. There is things you have to follow. There is things that you're not going to like. But then also that we have to respect what each other needs to eat in order to survive, or what other needs to do. So there's a few kind of messages running throughout that. But the dialogue is very fish like, so he'd say, for cod's sake, or it's always, but it's hake and cod and this kind of thing. So it's a bit of fun. I haven't done any illustrations for that yet, because I've sent it out to a few places, because I think it could have a lot of scope, even as a series, to start off.
Definitely.
So the next one then is the Smoobs, and the Smoobs are little creatures that live on Mars. And the inspiration for this came from my two nieces, Jade and Jasmine, and my nephew Sean. So during COVID, I couldn't be with them, and I love them so much, and I miss them so much, and they're so much fun, and we have great crack together and stuff. And I thought I wanted to do something that they could play with, because they're all really creative and a great imagination. And so I found all these styrofoam balls in the house, and I found googly eyes. Don't ask me, I have a lot of stuff. So I put them together, and I just started writing out like the Smoobs. And the reason they're called the Smoobs is because they grow in soil in Mars that's rich with sodium and magnesium and oxides and oolalas or something, and then brown soil. So it was like an acronym, and then I was like, it actually kind of makes up something. And I did an introduction to each of the characters inside, but it was, this moves need your help, need the children's help to help build their bodies. You can build it with, and then the suggested things, make sure you get an adult supervision. You can use pipe cleaners, cocktail sticks, glue, lollipop sticks and things to help build their bodies. But after I sent it, they are great fun, and they put the little Smoobs inside their doll house. So Jasmine, who's the youngest, had them living in the doll house. So they thought they were really cute. And then afterwards, I was thinking, oh, I'd love to maybe do something with that, but I was kind of in the throes of writing then, and I hadn't written Maya yet, and I thought, what could I do with this? So I just started kind of setting the scene up, as in, what could I do? What's the potential with this? And then I thought, one of the issues that we're facing, one of the, I suppose, social issues at the moment is, not even an issue, but a topic, would be about, gender, transgender, gender fluid, and things like this. And I thought, okay, but this could be a great way to get a message across to children that it's okay, first of all, as well, with racism, it's okay where you come from. It's also okay what you look like, and that we're all different. But the bodies that they're built, the bodies that will be built when they get to Earth, I'll tell you how they get to Earth now in a minute, but how they're built is basically how they make the child feel. So if the child feels that they can, say they want to put a blue pipe cleaner or whatever to build it, or they want to put a red or whatever, it's down to how much the child loves them. And so there's a message in there about that we can love everyone the same, no matter what sex they are and things like that. So I'm still hashing out a few ideas for that, because what I want to do first is I want to generate a bit of excitement. So I have a TikTok channel for them, and I've made a few sample tracks already, just on a little beatbox thing. So I have the little guys, and they're tiny. They're only the size of a Malteser, and they have the googly eyes. And I'm thinking to put, really catchy music in the back, and then where they live and this kind of thing, and get a bit of a following going on TikTok to generate some excitement before releasing a book. And then if there is excitement there, then it means that if I am pitching publishers, that there's already a captive audience, perhaps. So that's a kind
Yeah.
of a long-term thing. But the smooths, because they're so tiny, they roll around Mars all the time. So they need to find craters to sleep in. Otherwise, they'll roll all the time and they'll be dizzy, and some of them get sick and this kind of thing. So I bless them then with a 5 meter long tongue that has this unique kind of glue on it that allows them to propel themselves over the land. And then a satellite is flying over Mars one evening, and one of the smooths flicks his tongue out, and it sticks to the end of it, and he says it works. So they all do it, and then they come to Earth. So I was thinking, for the first segment, it's all about their life on Mars and how they're grown. You can see that their eye color, you can see what their eye color is going to be depending on their leaves. So the leaves are, navy or green or yellow. But that doesn't determine sex or anything like that. It just determines usually personalities or tricks that they can do. So yeah, that was an interesting one. And like, the kids definitely inspire me a lot to that, because I see how playful they are, and I see the little toys that they love as well, and the ones that they have most fun with are the simplest. And then I thought, if it could be a good carriage for getting a message out there, a good vehicle, I should say, for carriage. 1917, is it? It could be a good vehicle for getting that message out there. So yeah, I think that is Mayo. And then I suppose there's something that I'm working on that I haven't gone anywhere with. So it's Darcy Lee. And Darcy Lee is it's a girl living in Dublin. So it's just about there's a few stories there. So starting with Darcy Lee on New Year's Eve, but that's kind of, I'm thinking, next summer type of thing. I want to see how these go now. Did I name the 6 or yes?
You've the coaching through COVID, the
Coaching through COVID, Smooth,
smooths,
Mayo and the Pigeon, Dark Poet Society,
affirmations.
the affirmations. But oh yeah, so there's going to be the Own Your Shit is basically a series. So the first one is going to be Own Your Shit with awesome affirmations. Then it's Own Your Shit with minding yourself. Then the next one will be Own Your Shit by building resilience. So I would like to have a series of about 5 of these. Like, this is 50 pages, so it is quite thin. The coaching for coaching through COVID will be more kind of like this, more comprehensive, and just to kind of bulk it out. So you're quite limited with Kindle. For the likes of even your artwork and even like printing capability, you're very limited. There's only 2 options: cream paper or white paper. And this is why I can't wait as well for the Self-Care Squad to be published, because it's going to be, it's glossy, it's going to have a good footprint on a table or something like that. And it's just, the only issue with the Self-Care Squad is that the actual target audience, which is preteens and teenagers, are not the ones that are actually going to buy it. It'll be the aunties or the mothers or the godmothers or the godfathers buying these things for them. So it might be a little bit tricky, but that's what they're there to publish it for, I suppose. So hopefully it will be on the shelves in January. It would be great now if it was out there for Christmas. It would be a nice gift, but there's always next Christmas.
Well, listen, where can people get this stuff, and what's the name that you go under? I know you're not using your full name.
Well, I use Amy Claire. That is my name. But I'm using Amy Claire Ford for my writing pseudonym, because I'd written in a few I suppose different kind of private servers and things like that online as well. Not the dark web and weird, but like I'd always kind of use that pseudonym, and I like Amy Claire Ford. I do like Amy Claire Breen as well, but I just like it as an author's name. Now the Coaching Through COVID is by Amy Claire, because Amy Claire Ford it's a very convoluted answer. I don't want to confuse anybody listening, but Amy Claire Ford has an Instagram and a Facebook and a website. But the Dublin coaching program, because it's a company page, has always been, Amy Breen. So I've actually changed all of that online now to Amy Claire. So the Coaching Through COVID is Amy Claire, but if you go on to Amazon, it's all under the same author.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so I don't know whether I might just keep Amy Claire. Just that's it. So it'd be a bit like, the actor, like Jason Patrick, like 2 first names. Never know. I won't go like I won't go like Sting or anything. Just be like Amy. That'd be the ego talking, wouldn't it?
Oh, Amy, you are a blessing. You really are.
So are you.
I'm delighted that you've taken the time today to do this. So I'm going to put
Thank
like the
you.
links to the Amazon underneath. I'll put your link to your Instagram, to your website, to all that underneath. And if anybody wants to get in touch, what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
They can any of the you can send me a message on Facebook, on Instagram, on you can send me an email if you want to pop my email in there. It's no
Sure.
problem. It's just amy at dublincoachingprogram.ie or amyclairebreen@gmail.com. So Claire with an I and not like Ilaire as in Claire. Yeah, I know, and I really appreciate. I love chatting to you anyway, but it's great to be, I suppose, being vocal about this stuff and not apologising anymore. And I'd urge people to do that as well, to be flexible and kind with yourself and don't apologise for being there and do what you want. And what's the other one as well? If you, oh, the Maya Angelou quote, if you can't change it, change your attitude towards it. But if you can change it, like if it's your job or something like that, just do it.
Hmm.
Life is short, and you only get one of them. You might come back as a beetle, and then you'd be screwed. No apologies.
Amazing. Uh, so let's agree to leave it there, and I will
Perfect.
talk to you again very soon, Amy. You are amazing. I wish you every success with these books,
Thanks,
and
Rob. I'm going to
I,
send you a copy as well. So
I recommend everybody check them out. I will leave the link down below, and I will talk to you all soon. All the best.
thanks, Rob. Take care.
See you soon.
Bye bye.